I think we got just about everybody here, and we got a lot to get into today. So we're going to get started up. So I wanted to share this with everyone too. I'll do it just super quickly. But this site is roast my pricing page. This site, if you check it out, I'll put the link in the chat. As I was going through a lot of pricing page examples for this workshop, I came across this site. I had never seen this before, which usually I got my finger on the pulse with sites like this, or especially if they've been around for a while, but I had not seen this one before. And I just found it the other day, so I didn't get to dig as much as I wanted to into it, but I got it bookmarked. And from the roast that I did see, there's some really good stuff in here. Has anyone seen this before? It's basically a person who does roasts, quote unquote, your pricing page, but with the objective, obviously, of improving it. And there's some really good critiques in here. If you haven't seen it, click it, bookmark it, check it out. Maybe we'll take a peek at it later. But I thought for a pricing page workshop, had to share this one with you because it's a treasure trove of good pricing page information. Let's get started. Good to have you all here. My name is Joe. I'm going to be your instructor, guide, pricing page shaman today. I've been a senior product designer and researcher for over 10 years. Currently, I'm the design advocate here at Lyssna. And without getting too much into my work experience, I've worked on a lot of different products for a lot of different types of companies across different subject matters, team sizes, levels of complexity, industries, and I've done a lot of research, product design, and across all of those areas, and also a lot of teaching as well. So my goal, and a lot of pricing pages, definitely in the dozens, I would say, or yeah, probably more than that. A couple ones that took a lot of iteration. So with all of that experience and some of the things I've done actually working on products like this, my goal is to bring that to our workshop today, give you some of those lessons, hear from you on your experiences and the stuff that you're working on, and give you some practical takeaways and impact hour that you can bring into your day-to-day work and put those skills into action. So I teach a lot of workshops here with Lyssna, and no matter the topic, whether we're talking about pricing pages, getting stakeholder buy-in, any of that stuff, my goal is for all of you to leave with real tangible skills and also the confidence to improve your day-to-day work. Whatever the subject is, I want you to feel like you're leaving this workshop not just knowing more information, but actually feeling confident to put it into action. And even if you don't feel like you've mastered everything in an hour, feeling that confidence to put it into practice and take some of the strategies, processes that we're doing in this workshop and apply it to the research and design that you're doing. And I think today is going to be an especially good one for that because it's very hands-on and we're going to be doing a lot more than looking at slides. Awesome. All right, cool. So let's start before we get into our Fig Jam and our activities with a little overview and talk about pricing pages 101. We're talking about pricing pages in this workshop. That's the name of the workshop. That's the topic. That's what everything's centered around. But to bring it out a little bit, we're actually working on testing and designing and really a skill that is a lot more broad and important and impactful to have as a designer, product person, or researcher, which is helping users compare things. We're looking at it through the lens of pricing pages, which is a common type of page that you're doing, a common set of challenges to design well. But even though we're zeroing in on that one example, and that's what we're going to be working throughout our workshop, we're actually going to be practicing a lot of skills and a lot of tests that apply to a broader area, helping users compare things, which outside of pricing pages, it's not limited to pricing pages. You're doing this all the time as a product designer and trying to give users the information that they need, the tools that they need, and the presentation that they're looking for of different elements to make a decision on something, not just pricing plans and features. So we'll keep it focused on that But I think you're going to see as we work through this that a lot of these apply to probably many different types of pages, interactions, or different parts of the experience that you may be working on. So as product designers, we're constantly giving users tools and info to make choices. We have a pricing plan up here. Yes, that's what we're going to be focusing on today, but think about maybe a list of flights, right? We're seeing these little cards that have a limited amount of information about these flights. And the idea with those cards is to give users a quick, scannable way to look through them, browse, and make a choice, maybe not on which one they want to buy at that point specifically or buy a ticket for, but which ones they want to look into more. We could include a lot of different information about this flight in each of these cards. We could have every single detail about arrival time, seats, prices, but that would be overwhelming. Too little information, and it's not going to be helpful to scan. And so we get something like this that has some of the key decision-making info. You could argue that this is like a pricing page. I wouldn't think of it as that in the same literal sense, but pretty close, right? Some features, some details, and prices on this one. And even zooming out a little bit further with this Duolingo example, a simple choice, right? To pick a goal of how much you want to practice studying the language, but some helpers here like casual, 5 minutes a day, regular 10 minutes a day, doing a good job of giving some information, contextualizing it for the user, pre-selecting a choice, and giving a limited amount of information, but helpful information for where the user's at this point in the process. What should I set my goal as? Here's a little helper and some guidance to help you make a good, confident decision faster. So let's bring it back to just regular old pricing pages. I think everyone here knows what they look like. You've seen a million of them. You've used them. You've probably maybe designed a whole bunch of them. But when we're thinking of kind of a typical, maybe like SaaS product pricing page, usually we have some consistent elements, multiple plan tiers. So we're seeing a couple, usually 3, 4 different offerings. We're seeing some feature comparisons and breakdowns, what's included in those, as well as some pricing information, some highlights of the benefits or call outs and what you get in each of these plans. And of course, some CTAs to sign up, to upgrade, maybe some add-ons. Pricing pages come in all shapes and sizes, but usually they have a set of specific features or characteristics that are pretty standardized across different products, even things that are very different in terms of subject matter. Pricing pages matter. Everything matters in the flow, the checkout experience, especially the buying experience. But pricing pages, as you probably know already, are a point where usually a pretty important point in the user journey. If someone is looking at a pricing page comparing plans, that in a lot of cases means that they're probably likely a serious evaluator. They've probably seen the value or benefits, maybe like on the homepage, gotten an idea of what it does, has gone through the kind of top of the funnel stuff to say, all right, I think this is the service that I need or the app that I want to subscribe to, or this does loosely the things that I want to do to accomplish my goals. But once we get to the pricing page, in most cases, the user is evaluating in a little bit more detail, right? Now going from, is this even something that I want to use? Does it fit my needs generally? To something more specific. Does it have those specific features? Does it allow me to have the amount of admins or users that I need? What does the pricing look like? What are the different options? Really getting into checking the tag on the thing that they're looking for. Critical moment for the user. A lot of times they're making a decision here and weighing and comparing a lot of things. And of course, a critical business moment for conversions, revenue, retention, cart totals. So the pricing page, a lot goes down on the pricing page, as we all know. Okay, so I'm going to share a bunch of stuff from this article, and I'll put this in the chat here. This is a great article from Nielsen Norman Group, as most of them are. This one is specifically about comparison tables. I will drop in here. And you'll see a lot of the examples that I'm going to pull today are from this. It's not 100% specifically about pricing pages, but in most cases it is. There's a ton of overlap with it. It's more specifically to actual, like using a table, something like this here. A lot of great deep dive information in this one, and something we'll refer back to quite a bit, and very, like I said, tons of overlap with what we're doing here. So great next step. So while they go through a lot of, that article goes through a lot of different rules, best practices, examples, some specific to pricing pages, others more for any type of like comparison matrix. They sum it up, or I would sum it up as well, into 3 major rules. And this is what we're going to cover today. 3 guidelines that if you stick by will improve your pricing page for the user experience, for conversions, and for any of the goals that you or your user have, whether it's clarity, understanding features, making a confident choice, and giving users the information they need to make a decision. We're going to go through all 3 of these, but if I had to boil it down, I would say number 1, reduce noise and surface the differentiators. 2, use clear user-centered language. And 3, dead simple one, make it easy, do the work for the user. These are principles you could apply to a lot of different areas of product design, but we're going to see how they're especially important for pricing pages. Now, a quick little note here. Today, we're focusing on how pricing plans are presented, right? How the content and design of a pricing page. We're not focusing on how your product is priced or structured. So the idea and the example we're going to look at here is that we have set plans and we're trying to present them more effectively for our users and more clearly. But there are also plenty of ways, if you don't have that yet and you're thinking, what are our 3 plans? What should the pricing be for these? What features should be included? What limits of users should we set for our Pro plan versus our starter plan? There are a lot of ways to research that with Lyssna, card sorting to understand top priorities, surveys to get a better idea of pricing, and maybe like industry standard or competitive examples of how things are tiered. So I will provide some more information on that, and I'll put it in the FigJam for you guys to check out. But just a little note that when you're creating, like pricing your product or creating plans, there are a couple phases. One is actually figuring out what that structure is and what's included in pricing. And then once you have that locked, the next step, which we're doing today, figuring out how to present that as effectively as possible. All right. Okay, so now we're going to get into our project. So let me pull this up over here. We're going to get started on this. Okay, so I'm going to share this link in the chat. Okay, so you should see a little button on the bottom that says open in FigJam. You can also just watch my screen because I'm going to share all these, but go ahead and click on that and open up this FigJam, and we're going to go to our project intro over here. If you happen to move anything in this FigJam by accident, which I'm sure will happen, just hit undo. We can fix it. I have a clear copy of it as well, but yeah, if anything moves around, we're going to stay in this FigJam for basically the rest of the workshop. So you can either follow along and just watch me on screen share or follow along in the FigJam. And give everyone a second to access that. All right, so let's get into our project. We are going to fix a pricing page. We're going to do it all together, and we're going to go through some of the best practices and some experimentation and testing to fully improve or make at least a lot of progress on improving this somewhat busted pricing page that I'm going to show you in a second. So here's what we're doing. We're working on a fictional project called LearnFlow. We're taking on the role of the UX research team of, I don't know how many people we have here, 32-person UX research and design team, big team, to improve the pricing page. So LearnFlow is a fictional platform that helps creators and coaches launch online courses, run coaching programs, and sell subscriptions to their content. So think of any online teaching platform that you might know. We're going to start with the basics there. We're going to focus on the pricing page and some of the different plans, features, and improvements that we can make to help users make a more confident, informed decision and to more clearly structure our pricing page for that clarity and also our business goals like conversions and giving users the tools they need to commit to a plan and get started. So we're going to analyze the current pricing page and identify what's going wrong. We're going to look at a research study that I ran, and then we're going to work through some improvements step by step together, iterate as we go. And by the end of the workshop, we're going to have a new updated version of this pricing page to test out and see if we improved on it. I'll share this link in the chat with everyone. This is my Figma make file of the pricing page. I put the screenshot there, but if you want to keep it open, you should be able to access this site if you want to see the demo pricing page. This is our starting point here. All right, so let's look. We're saying we're going to improve this pricing page. So in order to do that, we need some data, some research, feedback, areas of focus to actually improve. Otherwise, we're just guessing at what needs work. I ran a test on Lyssna, and I'll walk through it here. Thanks for joining the study. You'll be reviewing a pricing page for LearnFlow. I set up a scenario here. Imagine you run a nutrition coaching business. You already have a small library of course materials, but your main priority is to expand your coaching practice. When choosing a platform, some of the most important things you're looking for are creating tiered memberships, ability to schedule and manage video coaching sessions for groups and one-on-one, packaging your expertise into coaching programs, and tools to communicate directly with clients for feedback and support. So in this study, I'm setting up kind of the scenario of a typical LearnFlow user, and then I'm asking users to view this pricing page and click what plan they would choose based on that criteria. This is a first click test on Lyssna. Confirm. Has to confirm what plan it is. And then we have a few questions here. What made you decide on the plan that you chose? I'm just going to give a test answer. And based on the scenario provided, how confident are you that this plan would meet the needs of your coaching business? Answer that. What made this decision easy or difficult for you? What information would help you feel more confident in choosing a plan? So I'm going through this quickly, but just to give you an idea of the study that we have set up here. And you're welcome to go ahead and click on that and check out the results as well. But let me share with you the overview synthesis of what came out of that. I ran that study with 15 people. I pasted all of the results over here. But the long and short of it is, number one, participants weren't really sure which plan was the best fit. Some defaulted to the most expensive plan, assuming it must have everything. There was low confidence in their choice, and we see that over here, somewhat confident, slightly confident, not confident at all. It was hard to scan, which we see in some of the feedback down here. And it wasn't always aligned with their goals. They weren't exactly connecting the features listed with the scenario to the things that they were seeing in the pricing page. So low confidence, unclear choices, and a lot of feedback on, hey, this was annoying to scan and pick a plan from. We want to improve this. And this feedback and some of the things that are going wrong with this pricing page are really common challenges to a pricing page, and things that if we apply those 3 rules to and work through together, we can make a big difference. So we're going to work through this, try to improve it, and come up with a final version where we're going to run the exact same study right at the end of this workshop and see if we can get a better result than this one. You're welcome to read through the results or refer back to this one, but I wanted to give you the setup here that it was unclear. Users weren't confident on what plan to pick, and it was mostly like pretty hard or tedious to scan through. Those are the things we're going to be focusing on fixing. We're going to get started on improving it. We're going to go through each of the 3 rules or guidelines for a great pricing page. And for each one, we're going to look at some examples. I'm going to give you guys a couple minutes to write some prompts since I designed that pricing page in Figma Make. We're going to use some AI prompts to make some improvements based on each of these rules. I'm going to pick a couple to drop in to edit and improve the pricing page on Figma Make. We'll have a new version of it. We'll go through all 3 of those rules. So we'll have version 2, 3, 4. And then when we finally get to the last one, I'm going to run that exact same study that you just saw with our final version. Now ran through these 3 different best practices with some prompts and updates. And we're going to see, we'll have a little showdown at the end to see if the new pricing page outperformed the old one in terms of confidence, clarity, and the feedback that we're getting. So this is going to be a real quick design sprint that I am going to need your help for. I'm going to be relying on your prompts and ideas for how to improve this pricing page. All right, so let me make sure we're all good here. Yeah, if you haven't tried Figma Make yet, I'll share the file too in the resources and recording after this. I'm going to plug the prompts in just to simplify things today, but they're going to be directly from I'll show you how it works and pull it up on my screen when we do it. So good intro to Figma Make if you haven't used it yet. All right, sounds good, everybody? Sweet. Okay, so let's do it. Let's go up to our first rule over here. So we have our LearnFlow pricing page. Again, you guys have that link, and we want to improve it. We're going to start with our first rule, and trying to make some improvements based on this best practice. Cut the clutter and surface the differentiators. With pricing pages, often long, repetitive feature lists bury the things that actually matter. By cutting out the clutter, you want to bring the key differentiators to the surface and really just make it clear on what sets each plan or tier apart from one another. It can be hard to avoid those long feature lists. If you have a complex product with a lot of different plans, nuances, add-ons, it's sometimes difficult to get that to a manageable list. But no matter how many offerings, features, things to compare you're showing in that pricing page, there are some things that you can do to make it feel less cluttered, more clear, and surface the differentiators, making it really obvious to users. What are the main things that are separating a starter plan for a pro plan, and giving that information simply and clearly so they can evaluate it on their own. So the impact: users spend less time scanning, more time comparing what matters. The real differences between plans stand out instead of getting lost in the noise. Decisions feel faster, clearer, and more confident. So I put some examples over here to show you. This one is some of these are from the article, the Nielsen Norman article. This one is from Williams Sonoma, I think. And this one has, I don't want to say it has a lot of clutter, but visually it's tough. They have some interesting things like distinguishing features here, but I thought it was just an interesting pricing comparison page to bring up. I think that overall the content is pretty good of it, but there are some things we could do better in terms of surfacing the difference between not SaaS plans or monthly subscriptions, but pots and pans here. This pricing page over here does a great job with highlighting some of those differentiators with these projects that we're seeing, or these like highlights over here, surfacing some of the top features and then some more stuff under it and a lot of different features after. And I'd say this one with these pens doesn't do the best job of this. First of all, just way too much criteria to evaluate for choosing on a pen, maybe depending on the use case, but lots of criteria here and not really a great job of surfacing what the main things that people are going to factor in when choosing what pen to buy and doing a very detailed analysis of what pen to buy. So some different examples here of some that work well, some not as well, but to show you the contrast of what it looks like when you just get dumped with a lot of information versus surfacing those decision-making factors. Okay, so let's head over here to activity, cut the clutter. This is our current Learn Flow landing page. I'm going to give you guys like 3 minutes to do this. I want you to take a look at this page, and I want you to think about how you would, down here, cut the clutter out of it. Some good things to think about with this are grouping or removing generic like table stakes features or expected features. Ways to visually separate the common items from the true differentiators, and highlighting the unique features that actually drive decisions like coaching tools, migrations, memberships, the thing that we saw in the test. So what I want you to do is take a couple minutes, look through this landing page, and drop some Post-its in here, your prompts. This is what I'm going to pick a couple of these to feed back into Figma Make. So for example, you could have one that says group all of the features that are included in all plans into a section called Every Plan Includes, right? A way that we don't have to see a large list here. We can maybe have a more scannable version of what's included in everyone to allow us to focus on some of the other features that differentiate each of these plans. You don't have to be super detailed with the prompts. I'll clean them up a little bit before I run them through, but look at this, look at some of the examples here, and jot down a prompt. What would you do to cut down on the clutter and surface the differentiating factors in this pricing page? I'm going to start our timer. We'll do 3 minutes here. Drop some Post-its in there. You can do as many as you want, some quick prompts, and I'll take a look, pick a few. We'll run it through Figma Make and then come back to our next one. If anyone has any questions on this, let me know in the chat. Otherwise, jot down some quick prompts, just specifically related to cutting out the clutter. As you're doing this, I'm just going to pick a couple to run through here. Nice, it's looking good. Got another little less than a minute here. Also, we're doing this like really quickly, obviously, and I'm just pulling a couple prompts to put in there, but I'm going to give you the file. When I send it out, I'll give you the Figma Make file so you can deep dive this on your own. And if I don't have your prompt in here, or if you want to really iterate, do it on your own and work through it, I'll be sending out that link and file and stuff like this after. Okay, cool. I'm going to pick a couple and I'm going to make this into a little prompt here. I'm going to just clean these up. drop it in. All right, I'm just cleaning up these prompts right now, but I'm going to pull up the Figma Make. And we'll drop this prompt in. Let's see, which ones did I pick? I got Malini, create visual contrast through colors, font type, weight, use clear hierarchy for the information to give more important bits more prominence, give something repetitive like features that every plan includes, less visual weight, group features into 3 or 4 categories with titles, and then show the most important categories at the top. Nice. I'm seeing a lot of good prompts here. I wanted to pick 3 that I think can like work well together. And I just ran it through what I've been using for a prompt here to clean it up. And I'm going to drop this in Figma Make. Take a look at my screen for a sec. I had another prompt to clean these up. So group all features into categories, add visual contrast, establish information hierarchy so that the most important visual information is more prominent. Let's run it and let Figma Make think for a minute. All right, we should have an updated version. I'm going to click update here so you guys can check it out. And let's see what we got. It's publishing. Cool. All right, that's updated. So I'm not going to go through this in too much detail, but I think we got some good, we're going to do a final pass on this before we test it. But I think those are some good prompts. We got our most popular, premium, so some differentiators there. This definitely worked. And that's what I focused on in the prompts that I picked by picking some of the differentiating factors and surfacing them at the top. Then we have some grouping down here. I don't know whose prompt that was, but that was a good one. Core platform features, business and revenue, communication and support, standard features. Nice. All right, so you guys can check this out. We're going to keep rolling on iterating this and improving it, but the link is there in the chat and you guys got the hang of this fully. Cool. So let's go down to our next one, our second rule. First one was cut the clutter, surface the features that matter. I'll put the link here. I'm not going to screenshot it, but this is our recent version. Now we're going to get into another kind of somewhat overlooked rule, I think, when it comes to pricing pages. Not the most common or devastating challenge, let's say, with pricing pages, but one that does come up quite a bit and can really throw off a user's comprehension, decision-making, or clarity about the plans. The rule here is to use relevant user-centered content and language. Technical jargon, vague labels confuse people. Clear user-centered language that translates into the things that they're evaluating a product on is going to help users understand the value without that extra effort, helping them grasp the value quickly, build trust and credibility, and also, I would say the main thing, helping users connect features to their goals and make confident choices. Now, for every user or every product, this is going to be a little bit different, right? If you have something that requires technical specs, then that's going to be important to include. So it's going to be dependent on the users in terms of what content is helpful for them and how technical or maybe simplified or benefit oriented it is. So that's something to figure out and test, just like we're doing. But regardless of who your users are and what level of detail or language they need to understand it, it's something you want to look at and test, screen, and iterate and improve really for any pricing page. And Dropbox does a good job of it here. They offer these tooltips that, for some of their more, obscure or technical, difficult to grasp features that they include, they give a plain English definition of them. Okay, so how do we do this? Translate the specs into benefits, import courses automatically instead of automated migration utility. Want to avoid vague feature names, be clear about what's included, and frame features in terms of outcomes and customer goals, not internal jargon. This screenshot from Amazon does a really good job of this down here, where they show the size and a comparison lipstick candy bar of these battery chargers. I thought an area that could be improved in this regard is the battery capacity. It has the technical specs for it, but something we could think about improving there is writing like up to 5 full iPhone charges, or battery charges life lasts for 2 days, 36 hours, something like that. So they did a nice job down here, but I think in addition to these technical specs, that was the first thing that jumped out to me as an area to improve. So translating and bringing those specs that might be useful into terms, language, and present it in a way that's going to allow users to easily connect them to their goals without trying to figure it out or decipher something that they're not familiar with. Really making it as clear as possible in the way you're presenting the content. All right, so we're going to take 2 minutes on this one. I'm not going to screenshot the pricing page. You can just check it out here. But I want you to go through that, see if there are any areas where we might improve the language, the names of features, the description in that pricing table, anything that feels a little bit jargony, unclear. How could we make that more easily interpreted and connected to the user's goals when evaluating plans? Same thing, drop your prompts into this area over here. I'm going to pick a couple and we'll run it through Figma Make before we move on to our last one. I'm going to look through it as well, see what. I think there are a few specific ones that could be improved here. There's one I'm looking at specifically that's related to the prompt. One of these features over here, actually a couple, but there's one specific one I'm looking at that could use some improvement, I think. Let's see if anyone gets it. Change language to a 5th grade level. Got 5 seconds. You got it, Deborah. I'm going to put yours in there. For example, enrollment allocation is too technical. I like that. I'm going to drop that in the prompt. Let's pull it back up. The other one that I was going to drop in here was this recurring monthly billing. One of the things in the prompt that I asked for, or that they prioritized, were memberships. Maybe change recurring monthly billing to offer monthly memberships to your students and clients. Let's see if we have any other that I want to pick here. Feature descriptions in the table shorter, objective friendly, neutral tone of voice, make the headlines more catchy. I like this one. Let's do the processing fee structure. Avoid comparing percent to dollars. Objective shorter. But I'm going to go with this one here, Yana, use an objective shorter. I think all these prompts could work. I'm also, as I'm doing this, trying to not like have us undo some of the work if it spits out something funky. So if I'm not picking yours to go in, it doesn't mean it's a bad prompt, but I want to like incrementally improve some of these. All right, so we got a few in here. Change language to 5th grade level, enrollment allocations to technical, change recurring monthly billing to offer monthly memberships, use an objective, user-friendly, neutral tone of voice. Let's run it and see what we got. We're waiting here. Hope that we're getting practice with the prompts. Yeah. I'll say for Deborah, for your question, how many designers are using FigJam or maybe Figma Make? I'm definitely using FigJam day to day. With Figma Make, I'm using it a lot because it's perfect for these examples for workshops. I always used to have to find examples, design my own that are a little bit, that had room to improve like this one. But it's like the biggest downside, I think, of AI design is it gets you 90% there, but then there's a bunch of stuff that's not quite right. And that's like perfect for workshop examples where it's not quite right and we're trying to improve it like this one. I'm using FigJam definitely every day, and Figma Make a lot for creating some of these examples. All right, it looks like we've got an update here, everybody. So let me publish that. I'm going to drop this in the chat. Same link that we've been using. Let's take a quick peek at it and see what it looks like here. Let's get rid of this. Okay, so I've got some of the same stuff. Change offer monthly memberships, your own website address, schedule meetings, remove learn flow branding. Awesome. So that 5th grade language, I think, what you use on your phone, join our community, students can leave comments. Pretty good. Offer monthly memberships. And then there was the enroll or like number of students. This was whoever had that as like student allocation, number of students that I got changed to. Good. All right, not a huge overhaul of the pricing page, but I think some good detailed changes that definitely fit with our rule of language communicating things in terms that users are going to not only understand, but connect to their goals. Nice job, team. All right, let's go on to our last one. This is gonna be our last round here of iteration on this, and it's a big one here. Don't make the user work. If you read that Nielsen Norman article, that's what it all boils down to. Every extra step or bit of effort increases friction, maybe frustration, and pricing page. That's not what we want to have when a user's making a buying decision. So pricing pages should minimize cognitive load, cut down on the processing power of our brain they require, making decisions simple, scannable, and obvious. So this last rule is the big like blanket rule that could touch on any of the things that we've done so far. But I think it also applies to visual design and usability, maybe less so about the content and like structuring, organizing things like we've already done, the language that we're using, and more so just making it a visual and seamless experience to compare these. And that could touch on a lot of different areas. So Adobe gets a thumbs down from me, or at least this screenshot does, because they don't have a persistent header of the plan. So you scroll through all of these, and then of course you got to just scroll back up and be like, wait, what was that plan again? Is that in the starter? Is that in the pro plan for Adobe Cloud? Little example, but a good one that makes it not as easy or seamless to compare these. Maybe a usability tweak that adds time, frustration, and like effort for the end user. So how do we do it? Visual design to keep the key info visible. We could have a sticky header of the plans if we have a lot of scrolling, providing helpful shortcuts like recommended or best for solo coaches, prevent memory strain, don't make users scroll back to compare or have duplicate features, and make the calls to action consistent and easy to find. These are just a couple ways that we can do it. I think the visual design is really what we want to focus in this one. Even though our pricing page is looking a lot better, let's write some prompts for how to improve it and make it less work, less cognitive load for the user to evaluate these plans. So you've got the link to this current version of the site right here. Drop it over here. And I'm going to give you guys another 2 minutes to drop some prompts and try to be specific with the prompts. Maybe it's like alternating colors between the rows of them. See if instead of going for a super broad sweep of visual design improvements or things that make it easier for the user, see if you can find like one little thing that stands out and write a quick but specific prompt for it in the next 2 minutes. All right, let's get started with that. I know we're at time now, but we'll do this. We'll do some final tweaks and then we'll run our tests. So drop those in there, take 2 minutes. We'll run them through Make and see if we have improved the results of this pricing page. Let's see how we're doing down here. You got about 30 seconds left. Highlight the column that would best fit the user. Tailor that to each user. Group differentiators with CTA. So Yana said use CTA button investment plan and 2 colors. Now I'll give you this. Remember here, let's take one more minute. Remember our prompt that we're using. We have this like health nutrition coach scenario that's looking for browsing all the features, but looking for some specific ones with offering memberships, importing content, and then some kind of like coaching specific ones like one-on-one messaging and like video call appointment schedules. So I was thinking something along the lines of, to get more specific with what you have, Jimena, like maybe options for coaching, one-on-one, highlighting like some differentiators between just building courses and then like those one-on-one coaching tools that are mostly in the most expensive plan. I forget what the plan names are. Similar companies for success stories. Yeah, we could have some. That could be a really good one, actually. Let's see. Repeat CTA buttons at the bottom. I'm going to take that, Deborah, drop that in here. Add some testimonials from coaches and course creators. And then let's say, make the table header sticky, visually highlight one plan, info tool that helps determine what's the best fit for me. Let's see, best fit the user. All right, I'm just going to throw it here. Yana, I'm going to take this. No more than 2 colors. Best plan secondary buttons for the others. Cool. Let's run this. And this is going to be our last setup here. Thanks for sticking with me, everybody. I know we're a little over here. This is going to be our grand finale. I'm going to publish this. We'll take a look at it, and then I'm going to run it through the test. We'll do a quick wrap up and see some results roll in. So stick with me for a little bit more. And as I said, I'm going to share the Figma Make file with, or like a clean copy of it, basically of the original, with all of you guys in the resources after the workshop. So if you want to go nuts on prompting and improving, iterating this page on your own, and even experimenting with Figma Make a little bit, I'm going to send out all the stuff to do that. I don't know who did the prompt. I could go back and look who did the prompt of simplifying the language for a 5th grader with an example. I think that might be one of our most effective prompts. I'm looking at some of these. I can't remember what the original wording was for some of them, but like best tools and grading, unlimited custom packages, still some stuff I would tweak about this. We're going through these prompts pretty quickly and not like editing each one, but overall, I'd say the language one had a bigger effect than I expected. All right, let's see. Let's publish this thing. Put the link in the chat one more time. Oops, where am I here? And drop it in. Cool, so let's check it out. We got basically retained all of the stuff that we did well with our plans, definitely highlighting these benefits at the top. We got some testimonials up here, business coach, course building tools. I think everything's pretty much the same down here. We got some visual differentiation and then our plans again down here at the bottom. Nice. Again, some tweaks I would make for sure, but I think let's see what the people think. All right, so I'm going to do a full screenshot of this so we can drop it in Lyssna. Sometimes these screenshots come out a little funky. This one came out perfectly, so let me save it, download it, and I'm going to run this study. So let's call this 2. Okay, so over here, I'm just going to cruise over to the back end of Lyssna where I have this study set up. Let's put it right here. So this is the exact same study that I showed you the results of at the beginning of our workshop. As you can see, this one has our intro, our first click test here, and then some of those survey questions after it. The only thing I am going to do here is remove the old screenshot. I'm going to add the new updated one. Let's make sure there's nothing else. We have all our confidence questions in here. Save and continue. And I'm going to find participants. I'm going to do just 15 from the Lyssna panel. I'm going to keep it totally open-ended here. Submit the order. And it says estimated turnaround time 4 minutes. So we should start getting some results any minute now on this. Let me share the results link with you guys here in the chat. I'm going to do a quick wrap up too right now while we wait for the results to roll in. And then we'll check back in 3-4 minutes, see if we've gotten anything. And then we can probably after a couple minutes after we sign off, we'll have all 15 and we'll be able to see if we improved on where they're clicking. Did they click that last plan, the correct one that has most of the coaching info, but more importantly, how confident were they in their decision? So let's let that float out there for now. You got the link to the results and we'll pop back over to that in just a second. All right, cool. Let's see if we got any results here. No participants yet. Okay, we're gonna have to let it build. I know that's a letdown that we haven't seen the results yet to end the class, but I'm not gonna have everyone stick around for too long to see it. That link, if you want to bookmark it, is a public link to the results. They should be in here like super soon. When they all come through, I'm going to post the updated version and the results over here in the Fig Jam. Let's get back to that. Let's post our screenshot. The updated one and the link to the results is right here. So we can see the comparison. But if you want to check back on that link is going to have all the results from it. Let's see, should do one more refresh and see if we've got anything. No, not yet, but they should be back in a couple minutes. So check back on that and I'll share it out in the email follow-up with all the resources and links from the workshop. All right, everyone, I've kept you long enough. Thank you so much for joining. Everyone, good work on the prompts and improvement. Look at the before and after side by side. I think we've done a really good job. Again, we got to see what the people think and their responses, confidence levels to that pricing page. But I hope some of these rules stick with you, not just for pricing pages, but for any comparison feature that you're using or designing and anything that you're creating that's helping users make confident decisions more quickly. Like I said, I'll send out everything from the workshop. You'll get the recording right after, but I'll also follow up with the templates and kind of a clean setup so you guys can deep dive this on your own, or anyone who's watching the recording who's not here today can follow along with this project. Awesome. Great job, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Check those results. I think they're going to be good, but I'll follow up with all that stuff after. And hopefully I'll see you guys in another workshop soon. All right. See you, everyone.